What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today let's get started with Henry Cejudo thinking Justin Gaethje is Charles Oliveira's kryptonite. The massive lightweight title fight between champion Charles Oliveira and Justin Gaethje is just a few weeks away, but there's no shortage of prognosticators speculating what could happen in this fight. Oliveira won the vacated lightweight title last year with a second round TKO win over Michael Chandler in May. He successfully defended his 155-pound belt against Dustin Poirier this past December by a submission in the third round. Now, Oliveira will be taking on a very game Gaethje, who is coming off a tough win over Michael Chandler this past November in what was the 2021 Fight of the Year. Gaethje is also a former title challenger who tapped to a choke by Khabib Nurmagomedov back in October 2020, just before the Eagle retired from the sport. Oliveira has had to prove a lot of doubters wrong throughout 2021. His next test will be against a man in Gaethje who was really ticked off that he wasn't tapped to fight for the vacated lightweight title last year and is looking hungry for the belt. Oliveira, meanwhile, has shown that he can weather an early storm and come out with his hand raised by the end of a fight. One man who believes that this is Gaethje's fight to lose is former champ Henry Cejudo, who thinks Gaethje has the makings of a champion, and in a recent interview with Helen Yu, this is what he stated.
Charles the Bronx is too technical. He's got too many sharp ways. He's got so many more ways to beat him. But I do think that Charles Oliveira's biggest kryptonite, it is Justin Gaethje. And I used to think it was Islam, but not no more, because he'll be happy to go to the ground with Islam, and that's where it gets dangerous.
What do you think of Cejudo's comments here? And who do you think will walk away with the lightweight strap at UFC 274 on May 7th? Tyson Fury and Francis Ngannou challenge each other in the ring. It was an incredible weekend for heavyweight boxing, as not only did Tyson Fury knock out Dillian Whyte at Wembley Stadium on Saturday to retain his WBC heavyweight title, but there was an amazing moment in the ring immediately afterwards. UFC heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou, sporting a new haircut, walked into the boxing ring to join Fury for the post-fight interview, and both indicated that they want to fight each other in a boxing bout. Just take a look at this exchange.
This is going to be a very special fight, like never before seen in the history of our sport. You know, we're not talking two light guys, 140 pounds. I'm 170, he's 270 pounds, so it's going to be an explosive fight when it happens.
It's going to be a hybrid fight with different type of rules. Yes. You know, MMA gloves in the ring, kind of like make something a little different.
Both men basically confirmed that this fight is in the works, and it could not have happened without Ngannou himself speaking out late last year that he wanted to test his mettle in the boxing ring against the best in the world. Since he won his UFC heavyweight title back in March 2021, Ngannou has been at odds with the UFC over contract details and compensation. He solidified his hold on the title this past January with a unanimous decision win over former training partner Ciryl Gane and battling an injured knee at the same time. It was also his last fight on his UFC contract. Ngannou is currently recovering from serious knee surgery, and he's likely out for the remainder of the year. So with the long recovery time and a looming contract negotiation, Ngannou is taking the bull by the horns and already setting up the boxing bout against Tyson Fury, who himself stated he'd be open for the bout with special rules to make it interesting for the fans and make it more of an even fight. UFC President Dana White does not like his fighters competing outside of the promotion in stand-up bouts, and the one time he did allow it was for the Conor McGregor-Floyd Mayweather mega crossover back in 2017. This was an incredible moment here this past weekend because there were 90,000 fans at Wembley Stadium and millions watching at home. So bringing up the UFC heavyweight champion Ngannou into the boxing ring, having him talk on the mic, and both men openly talking about fighting each other in the crossover bout in front of all those people, this is simply great promotion to kick things off. Fury has stated that he's likely done with boxing, so a mega fight against Ngannou could be just what he needs to send him off into the sunset and into combat sports history. For Ngannou, he's currently beholden to the UFC's champion clause, which means he has to fight 3 times in a calendar year, but reports say this clause has a sunset clause and will expire by the end of the year, meaning he could be a free agent as soon as December or January 2023, and he would have also walked away with the UFC heavyweight title if that happens. It's too early to tell if the two sides could come to an agreement, but Ngannou isn't wasting any time and making this boxing bout against Fury a legitimate endeavor. What's your reaction to seeing Ngannou in the ring with Fury after his fight at Wembley? What do you think about Fury and Ngannou fighting early next year in the special mixed rules boxing bout. And who will you put your money on for this fight? Aljamain Sterling willing to grab a beer with Petr Yan. Despite all the trash talk leading up to their UFC 273 clash for the undisputed UFC bantamweight title, Aljamain Sterling says he has no ill will towards Petr Yan. This is especially after the fact that Yan was disqualified for delivering an illegal knee strike to the head of a downed Sterling in their first fight back in March 2021. Since then, Sterling has had neck surgery and took a year off to recover and prepare for the rematch against Yan. That rematch took place just a few weeks ago in Jacksonville, Florida. And while there was some controversy over the final ruling, the judges handed Sterling the title with a split decision victory. Still, there looked like there was a lot of animosity between the two sides as the fight got closer, with Yan talking about a hypothetical scenario with both teams meeting each other in the lobby and saying he and his friends would win any potential clash. But Sterling, days after the win, is feeling pretty cozy with the title and isn't taking any of that talk to heart. Case in point, in a recent interview with Ariel Helwani, this is what Aljamain said.
It was never personal in the sense of like, oh my God, I can't stand this guy. Like, I would have a beer with the guy. We'll probably be talking to each other the entire time. But I think the competitiveness between us is just both of us believing that we're the best. And when you have two guys that really do believe that, it's just only natural for you guys to butt heads.
With Sterling now solidified as the 135-pound king, he's most likely going to take on former champion TJ Dillashaw next, in lieu of a trilogy bout against the Russian. What do you make of Sterling's comments here? Don't forget to take a second to hit that like button and subscribe to the MMA Zone to stay up to date on all of the latest fight news. Chase Sherman withdraws from UFC Vegas 52 card. Chase Sherman was set to take on Alexander Romanov in a heavyweight battle at UFC Vegas 52 in Las Vegas this weekend. However, during the broadcast, the fight was scratched from the card after Sherman was unable to make it to the octagon. Sherman suffered what is being described as a minor health issue, and news about what exactly is wrong has yet to be revealed. The fight is going to be rescheduled for the next fight night event, UFC Vegas 53, next weekend on April 30th, so Romanov will not be taking on a new opponent. The fight will only be postponed for a week and be placed on the same card as the bantamweight battle between Rob Font and Marlon Vera next week. This heavyweight clash was originally set to take place between Romanov and Tanner Boser, but the Canadian had to withdraw from the bout due to an undisclosed injury weeks ago. Sherman stepped up to fight Romanov and signed a new 4-fight deal with the promotion in order to take the last-minute bout. Who do you think will win out of Sherman and Romanov next week? The UFC just added a welterweight clash to their fight night event on June 4th, as Benoit St. Denis will take on Nicholas Stolze. Both men are coming off of losses. Stolze is on a 2-fight losing streak, having lost to Ramazan Emeev and Jared Gooden, and he'll be looking to turn things around. Meanwhile, Benoit St. Denis is coming off a loss against Eliseo Zaleski back in October. Who you got in this fight? Michael Bisping reacts to news of Dan Hardy-Diego Sanchez boxing match. News of Dan Hardy's upcoming exhibition boxing bout against Diego Sanchez has been making the rounds, and it's gotten some people talking. Hardy is coming out of retirement for his first foray into boxing by accepting this match against former UFC lightweight in Sanchez. While Hardy hasn't fought in 10 years, ex-fighters like Michael Bisping say that Dan Hardy is still in great shape. Bisping, the former middleweight champion, knows Hardy quite well, and in a recent episode of his Believe You Me podcast, he gave his honest reaction to this fight. This is what the count stated in the video.
I'm going to say right now, it's going to favour Dan Hardy. It's going to favour Dan. Diego's tough as fuck, man. Diego's been around forever. Diego's still fighting, doing bare knuckle, fighting God knows how many fights. Dan, whilst he hasn't been active, and you might say, oh, he's out of shape and all the rest of it, he's one of those guys, he's not a drinker, he still works out, he still trains, he still coaches, and he hasn't had any impact to the head for the last 10 years. So it's a very, very good matchup for Dan Hardy, if you ask me.
The Hardy-Sanchez boxing fight will take place in the undercard of the Ricky Hatton-Marco Antonio Barrera boxing event on July 2nd in Manchester, England. Not only will Hardy be making his boxing debut, but Sanchez as well, months after competing in the newly created 165-pound MMA division for Eagle FC against Kevin Lee. What do you think about Bisping's reaction? And who do you think will win this match? Thanks so much for joining us today. What do you make of what's going on in the fight world? Make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all the latest news from the MMA Zone. See you next time.